it's a beautiful start to a brand new morning. Then out of the blue, without warning, I let a little thing like a nap in my teeth steal away my sanity. In the midst of it all, when I stumble and fall, I know I'm gonna be okay. I start to feel the beat, I get back on my feet, and I dance away, taking back my day, taking back my day. Standing in my shoes, I know what to do, taking back my day. Just a slight adjustment, it's really all it takes. See the great big picture instead of all the mistakes. Oh, I just smile at the things on my list. Can't stay inside on a day like this. In the midst of it all, when I stumble and fall, I know I'm gonna be okay. I start to feel the beat, I get back on my feet, and I dance away, taking back my day, taking back my day, yeah. Standing in my shoes, I got the right moves, taking back my day. There's a blue sky over my head, I got a spring in my step. You can bet the best is just a breath away, taking back my day.
Come on, you can stand up if you want
Taking
to.
back my day.
Yeah, that's it. Huh.
Dancing in my shoes, I got the right moves, taking back my day.
Oh, take it back. Woo.
Yeah.
Taking back my day.
My peace, my sanity,
Taking back my day.
everything's alright on the sunny day.
Taking back my day.
Taking back my day. My. Taking back my day. Taking back my day. One more. Oh, yeah. Taking back my day. Taking back my day. Yeah, Richard.
Go, Richard. Come on. Mr. Richard McDeesey, the hardest working man in show business today. Yes.
Good morning. We are Unity of Northeast Pennsylvania, a positive path to spiritual living. My name is Richard Pacheco, and I welcome you here today to our Sunday online gathering as we continue our journey through the 12 powers focused on resilience and radiance. This month we start a new month. We start the month of strength. And so the month affirmations and stuff outside of our lessons will of course be focused on the power of strength, and we'll be doing that all month long. Today's talk will start the journey on the specialized training of the powers. Today is faith, and as always, remember we are a teaching ministry, so everything we do we ask you to practice, and take it home and practice it some more. So be more than a spectator and actually participate. So with that being said, as always, I ask you to like the video, share it out so that others can hear our message. as well as comment in the chat room so that we at least know you're here. And we are so glad that you are. So with that, let's get started right away. If you feel so moved, let's go ahead and close our eyes as we go into our opening prayer. And let's just take a deep breath in, centering into this moment, this time, this place, this allness that's around us, knowing that this is the only time that counts. There is no yesterday, as that's already gone, and there's nothing in the future, as it has not happened yet. The only place that those two places live is in our mind. So our spirit and our physical body is right here in this moment. And continue to breathe in and release anything that will hinder you from learning today, from being open to our lessons today. And just continue to breathe. And as we continue to breathe, we continue to affirm that we know we are part of this allness that we call God, this spirit, this substance, this source that surrounds us, that allows us to not only be it, but only to allow it to express through us, as us, into this moment, into this world. And we see this expressing through all people who are having challenges right now, no matter what they are. We begin to see it rightly, as Reverend Eric Butterworth reminds us, that we see peace, love, healing, prosperity and abundance, joy, going through and expressing as those around us, as we remind them of their divinity in this wholeness. And we know that we are gathered here today because we are divinely called to this place in this moment, whether we're watching this live or watching it later. Something called you to this moment to listen to the lessons, the songs, the prayers, and just be a part of us in this oneness. And we are grateful for you. We are grateful for the prayers that are already been answered. And we know they're answered because we say it is, and so it is, and we let it be. And we end this prayer with an affirmation of Somo Te Be, Ashe, and Amen. And let us go ahead and move into our song.
As time has unfolded me, it has revealed to me life's nothing less than sublime. With every thought I make, every last breath I take, may I be gracious and kind. Love, I invite you to open up this heart of mine. Love, cover me, light any darkness. Love, cover me, right every wrong. Cause me to see love over hatred. Guide me to be faithful and strong. Love, cover me. Love, cover me. Kindness wash over me, make me a symphony, play every note you can find. Make me reverberate, gently deactivate, slowly flow out of my mind. Find me a melody, dance and let my anthem be. Love, cover me, light any darkness. Love, cover me, right every wrong. Cause me to see love over hatred. Guide me to be faithful and strong. Love, cover me. Love cover me. Love cover me. Love cover me. Love cover me. I will not be shaken. I will not be moved. Love cover me. May my heart awaken. Tenderness be proved. Love cover me. Love cover me. Love, 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 love. Love, I invite you to open up this heart of mine. Love, cover me. Light any darkness. Love, cover me. Right every wrong. Cause me to see love over hatred. Guide me to be faithful and strong. Love, cover me. Love cover me. Love cover me. Love cover me. Love, 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 love.
Good morning and welcome back. If you're just joining us, you are here at our Sunday online gathering with Unity of Northeast Pennsylvania, a positive path for spiritual living. And my name is Richard Pacheco. And let's go ahead and get into our announcements here. So quickly, Tuesdays, as always, we continue our Living an Abundant Life. It is the basic level teachings of our prosperity and abundance training. And we get people to know that prosperity and abundance isn't always about money. It is about our life, living an abundant life. Our master teacher said he came so that we can live abundantly. And we're talking about health, we're talking about relationships, we're talking about everything. And I can tell you that the Unity teachings have changed my life radically. And I've heard a lot of people say the same thing. So join us on Tuesday at 7 p.m. if you can. And we'll continue on with the series. Next week, I'll be the ones coming in and we'll be speaking on strength, spiritual backbone. And again, strength is that power, and you'll hear that in our reading today, of perseverance, of dependability, and knowing where we can do strength in community. So strength is one of those things that really binds you to your faith, because faith says we can see it, we believe in it even before we see it, but strength says we're going to keep going even when that doubt comes back in. So I will see you next week with that. On the 17th, so not this Wednesday but the following Wednesday, we'll begin a daily practice of release and renew. It's our practice for Lent. Again, Lent being let's eliminate negative thoughts. And we'll do a daily get together where we'll do a quick prayer and meditation and kind of read the story of how to get through those certain thoughts. Each day is titled differently. So join us. I may do a couple of preludes as there's some stories that come at the beginning of the book that may kind of prepare us for that. But you'll see us when we go live, probably about 12 p.m. every day. It's a perfect time for me to do it with you and be live while we do this. So be prepared to join us, and as always, it will be recorded, so you can join us on our YouTube channel and or on Facebook later on. If you didn't, to go ahead and catch up on the practice. As always, we give you your chance to celebrate giving by helping the ministry out. You can go to unityofnepa.org and hit the contribute button. And again, if you're a phone user and you go to our website on the phone, turn your phone lengthwise and the button will pop up. YouTube, there is a PayPal link at the banner at the top, as well as you can mail it in, and our wonderful office staff will take care of that for you. Other ways you can give is Amazon Smile. I've said this over and over. Amazon has made it automated so that when I go to Amazon, I'm already signed into Amazon Smile now, and it is great to see when I do purchases and at the end it says this purchase qualifies as a donation to Unity of NEPA. So choose us as your nonprofit. And as you shop normally, especially as we still continue through this pandemic and social separation, we know we do all our shopping online, so why not help out while you're doing that? With that being said, let's go ahead and join in together as we say the vision we hold. In oneness, we co-create a world inspired by the practice of love, peace, and harmony for all. And what is ours to do? Ours is to serve our community through affirmative prayer, teachings, and service. And of course, what do we believe? We believe there is one power, one presence active in the universe and in my life. God the good, omnipotent. And at this moment, we're going to move into our next song, as well as follow through a visual as well as a audible meditation. So I'll be doing a reading, and there will be some slides, videos up, just to kind of, for those people who don't want to close their eyes and just sit and listen. We followed up by the video on strength by Unity, and then finally a meditation by Unity as well for strength. You know, we talk about strength, we talk about the act of moving through when we don't know. So we add faith that gives us that belief, but strength is what helps us persevere through. I told a story a number of years ago when we were in the building about a young lady who I knew, and we were seeing each other at that time, and she would go to work. She would go back upstate New York to go to work, and she would spend the weekends with me. Well, I got a call that week that she had gone outside her sister's house, and she had a pool. And her sister, of course, had all the safety things in place. She had a fence around the pool and everything. But as one day she came out, she saw the fence was open. At that fence, she found it funny, and when she walked over to the pool, she noticed that there was a little boy at the bottom of that pool, or a child at the time. Now, what to note is that this woman had no knowledge of swimming at all, no knowledge or training of resuscitation or CPR, and now she was stuck with going into the deep end of the pool and a child's life in her hands. Well, without a thought, she jumped into the pool, grabbed the child, brought him out, did what she thought she knew, probably based off of television or whatever else, and she was able to resuscitate the child. So, yes, as a hero, but let's take that as an example. As we move through the 12 powers, faith and strength, let's think of that child as a representation of your dreams, a representation of a business you wanted to start, a representation of the relationship you wanted to start. Maybe it's something with a family member. There's just something that needs to be brought to life. And the question is, are you willing to move in faith, even when you know you don't know what you need to do? In the case of the woman, Les Brown used to say, when you know your why, the hows doesn't matter. And in her case, the why was, I need to get to that child. I need to get him out of the pool, and I need to help him live. Are you willing to do that exact same thing, invoking the power of strength to help your dreams, your business, your relationship to live? As I know for me, I will tell you that the pain of regret at the end of my life, saying I coulda, woulda, shoulda, will be more painful to me than the pain of discipline and the pain of acting in this moment toward what you want. So I'll leave you there with that in your mind, and I will see you on the other side.
As time has unfolded me, it has revealed to me life's nothing less than sublime. With every thought I make, every last breath I take, may I be gracious and kind. Love, I invite you to open up this heart of mine. Love, cover me, light any darkness. Love, cover me, right every wrong. Cause me to see love over hatred. Guide me to be faithful and strong. Love, cover me. Love, cover me. Kindness wash over me, make me a symphony, play every note you can find. Make me reverberate, gently deactivate, slowly flow out of my mind. Find me a melody, dance and let my anthem be. Love, cover me, light any darkness. Love, cover me, right every wrong. Cause me to see love over hatred. Guide me to be faithful and strong. Love, cover me. 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 I will not be shaken. I will not be moved. Love, cover me. May my heart awaken, tenderness be proved. Love, cover me. Love, cover me. Love, 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 love. Love, 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 love. Love, I invite you to open up this heart of mine. Love, cover me, light any darkness. Love, cover me, right every wrong. Cause me to see love over hatred. Guide me to be faithful and strong. Love, cover me. Love, cover me. Love, cover me. Love, cover me. love.
Our reading today comes from Reverend Margot Ford, Finding Strength. Your inner strength takes many forms, from perseverance to the ability to ask for help. A treasured gift from my congregation is a silver bracelet inscribed, "I can do all things through Christ, who strengthens me," from Philippians 4:13. The scripture about strength was particularly meaningful for me. Years earlier, before my ordination, I had a randomly chosen Andrew, who symbolizes strength, as the apostle I would represent in a 2-year discipleship program at my church. Did choosing Andrew, I wondered at the time, mean I had strength or needed strength? Both, my minister affirmed. As I reviewed events in my life, I concluded that yes, I had been strong in many situations, but the strength I would need in the coming years I couldn't begin to imagine. Strength in perseverance. Strength is the ability to endure, stay the course, last, be persistent, persevere, and be stable. According to Reverend Paul Hasselbeck and Reverend Cheryl Holt in Power Up, a book about the 12 powers. Hearing a doctor pronounce you have breast cancer is enough to send almost anyone reeling, and I was no exception. How would I have the strength to get through this? As a student of Unity, the use of affirmations resonated with me. Affirmations are not to make something come about, but to deepen our consciousness awareness of what is already true about us as an expression of the God's divine presence. So I affirmed, I rest in the knowledge that God is my strength. And rest I did. I never lost a night's sleep after that diagnosis. In returning and rest you shall be saved. In quietness and in trust shall be your strength. Isaiah 30:15. Strength in dependability. Another aspect of strength is dependability, or as Charles Fillmore says in Keep It True Lent, it is the force or power to do, capacity to accomplish. When we are dependable, we use our spiritual strength to do what we commit to. We follow the course we set for ourselves, and spiritual strength allows us to do so with clarity, focus, ease, and grace. Using our power of strength for spiritual awareness, we choose to focus our attention and thought energy on the possibility of positive outcomes in our own lives, the lives of others, and the world. Facing a world made radically different by COVID-19 required us to adjust to physical separation, loss in its many forms, and uncertainty about the future. In such circumstances, how do we remain centered and muster the strength and courage to act responsibly through our fears and misgiving? One way to face challenges that call for strength or courage is to be aware of ways we've demonstrated strength in the past. What you have believed you could never do, that you not only had the strength to face, but afterwards knew you had grown spiritually as a result of it. So I'll ask that question just one more time. What have you believed you could never do, that you not only had the strength to face, but afterwards knew you had grown up spiritually as a result of it? Focusing on such situations and writing about them can offer you a deeper appreciation of your own strength. Strength in a community. A little boy was trying very hard to lift a heavy stone. His father said to him, "Are you using all your strength?" "Yes, I am," the boy exclaimed impatiently. "No," the father replied, "you are not. You haven't asked me to help." Being spiritually strong doesn't mean we have to go it alone, that we don't need assistance from others or can't benefit from the upliftment we receive from those who are ready and willing to help. In meditation and prayer, especially this month, recalling anew your successful use of power of strength. Envision yourself filled with God's unlimited strength, able to stand firm, to be courageous and still in the midst of chaos, to be resilient and endure, to be persistent and steadfast. In difficult times, remind yourself that no matter the situation, God is ever present. It may also help to remain centered by identifying situations that increase your anxiety, stress, or worry, and the greatest extent possible, avoid or limit your exposure to them. Remember that strength is not something you have, but what you are as an expression of God's divine presence. Consider frequently using affirmations of strength. God's presence within guides me and lifts me up. I express the strength and vitality of God. In every decision you are called to make, in every challenge you face, your power of strength carries you through, radiating from God's presence within you.
There is strength in me. My mind is strong. It is positive. It is calm. There is strength in me. My body is vigorous, powerful. There is strength of purpose in me. Strength of faith. Strength that helps me stand firm. My God-given strength enables me to be my best self. Strength in me establishes right values. It keeps me reaching for higher goals. Strength makes it possible for me to be gentle with others. God-given strength is in all people. I look for it and call it forth with faith.
Strength. I express the strength and vitality of God. Begin by bringing your attention to your breath. Breathe in deeply and exhale slowly, allowing your body to relax. Thoughts drift away and your mind becomes clear as you turn within. Focusing on your heart, you embrace this truth. I express the strength and vitality of God. God is your strength. Therefore, you are strong. Steadfast and patient, you withstand the winds of change. Adversity does not deter you, for your power lies within. Your mind is clear and steady. Your will is firm. Your spiritual strength sustains you in moments of uncertainty. You draw from a deep well of courage within. When faced with challenging conditions, you renew yourself and stand firm. Undaunted and re-energized, you stay the course. Again and again, you rise and march forward. Fearless and focused, you count the cost of the road ahead. You prepare yourself to act, owning what is yours to do. Inner wisdom and discernment guide you through unpredictable circumstances. Boldness and tenacity propel you beyond obstacles. With enduring strength, you persevere through shifting tides and unforeseen challenges. Trusting in the power of your spiritual strength, you persist and remain hopeful. You may falter but never fail, for divine power within is your endless source. You are resolute, determined, and confident. You are one with the strength and vitality of God, stable, courageous, and tenacious. We join you in affirming your innate divine strength. Silent unity is always here for you.
Hello. Going to share with you today a retelling of a story about faith. And it comes to us from the Jewish tradition, but you can also find an account of it in the Christian Bible in the book of Judges, chapters 6 through 8. And it's about a fella named Gideon. Now, at this time in the history of Israel, right, the Israelites have come from about a 40-year period where 40 years previously there'd been a judge sent, a judge named Deborah, who helped clean up a situation that Israel was in and get them back on the right track of serving God and so on and so forth. And as the years progressed, of course, Israel, at least in the history that's written there in the Bible, you know, they come to God and then they fall away and then they get in trouble and then they come and then a rescuer or a judge or a king is raised up and they're brought back to God and then they gradually fall away again. So here we're at the end of one of those sort of 40-year cycles. And Israel is once again being oppressed, and it's oppressed by this nation called Midian, who were a nomadic tribe, but they were huge, right? And what they were doing was coming in right about harvest time, and they were stealing all of the Israelites' food. And you know, the Bible account of it, it says, you know, their numbers were like locusts, and they would descend, and no livestock, no crops, no nothing would be left after they came and wreaked their havoc. And this was a cycle that just kept repeating over and over again. So the story opens, and we find this fellow Gideon, right? And Gideon is threshing grain in a wine press of all things, not the way you normally thresh grain, but he's doing it so he can keep it hidden, right? And so he's in the process of threshing this grain and hiding the grain. And an angel comes to him. And the angel says, "The Lord is with you, mighty warrior." I'm like, huh. You know, Gideon's like, "I think you got the wrong guy." Because, you know, not only am I from like the weakest clan inside of the tribe of Manasseh, but I'm the youngest member of my clan, right? and the angel's like, "No, I'm definitely talking to you." And proceeds to they have a conversation, and Gideon's like, "Look, you know, I've heard all the stories, right?" So Gideon's a fairly young guy. So he hasn't seen sort of the time when the previous judges, like Deborah would be the previous one, had been around and things had been good. All he'd known is sort of more or less oppression in his life. And he's like, "I've heard the stories, how God brought Israel out of Egypt and all of these great things. But you know, I've not seen this sort of thing. So what are you talking about? The Lord is with you." And so he asked the visitor to give him a sign, right? And this visitor, by the way, is termed the angel of the Lord. And you can interpret that a lot of different ways, but either way, a divine messenger, right? How awesome is that? So he asked for a sign, and the sign that this messenger gives him is to touch his staff to a rock, and fire comes up out of the rock and consumes the meal that Gideon had set out for this divine messenger. And so Gideon's like, you know, he's all shock and awe, you know, like, wow, you know, and then the messenger leaves, but leaves a task for Gideon to do and says, you know, go and tear down your clan, your family's altar to this false god Baal. And so Gideon's like, okay. So he does it. He tears down that altar to the false god and sacrifices, you know, one of the oxen that he had used actually to pull down that altar. And of course the people in his village, you know, they were quite upset, you know, like, what have you done? You know, and it's at this point, you know, that Gideon's father steps in and says, "Hey, look, you know what? If Baal is as powerful and wonderful as you say he is, then Baal ought to be able to, you know, let Baal extract his revenge." And so he protected his son from being killed by the other villagers. So we flash forward just a little while longer, and the word of the Lord a message comes to Gideon again. And this time it says, "I want you to be the instrument that I use to free Israel from the oppression of Midian. And Gideon's like, huh, well, I'm going to need some, I don't know, some sort of assurance here, some sort of verification. And so he asked God to give him a sign. He's going to he laid out a wool fleece out on the ground. And, he's like, if this is truly the word of the Lord, then overnight, let the dew soak this wool fleece and let the ground all around it be dry. And sure enough, the next morning, there's enough water inside of this wool fleece that it says you could squeeze it out and fill a bowl. And the ground all around it is dry. And Gideon's like, that's pretty cool, but, maybe that's just some weird weather phenomenon. So he asked for a second sign. And so he sets the fleece out again and says, this time I want the fleece to be dry and the water all around it to be wet. And sure enough, next morning, the fleece is dry and the ground all around it is wet. So Gideon's like, all right, this must be the real deal. And so he starts putting word out to assemble an army to face the Midianites. And the Midianites were an impressive size and force, right? So, and we'll get into those numbers a little bit later, but let's talk about the forces of Israel. Forces of Israel, 32,000 men show up, right, to be a part of this army of Gideon. And God says, well, you know what? It's not very impressive if I do this miracle. It doesn't build anybody's faith if I do this miracle with, 32,000 people. That's too many. So he tells Gideon to let go anybody that's feeling fearful, right? Says, okay, any of you that are afraid of this can go on home. And would you know it? 22,000 men went home. And that left Gideon with a force of 10,000. Now you might think, okay, this is time for us to get some action going here. God says, nope, that's not nearly miraculous enough to prove my great strength here and my ability to work miracles. So he says to Gideon, we're gonna trim this force down again. And the way he does it is he says, have them go drink, right? And the people that go down to the water and they stick their heads to the water to drink, I want you to send them home. But the people that lift up the water and cup it in their hands and drink it that way, I want you to hold on to them, right? So in the end, Gideon was left with 300 men who cupped the water and drank it like so, a force of 300. So God's about to do something pretty miraculous, right? Because we've gone from an army of 32,000 down to an army of 300. And it says that very night that God must have sensed that Gideon needed just a little more reassurance. He says, I want you to sneak down to the camp of the Midians, and because I have a sign I want to show to you. So sure enough, Gideon went down to the camp of the Midians, kind of sneaked in, and he got to overhear two Midianites having a conversation, and one's telling about a dream that he had had the night before. And the dream was that a loaf of barley bread had rolled down the hill and crushed the whole encampment, like turned tents upside down and flattened them and the whole works, right? And then the fellow that he's talking to about his dream says, oh, well, that surely, that loaf of barley must surely be Gideon and his army, coming to get us. So God was already working his miracle, both on the Midians and their psyche, right? At the same time that he's giving this sign of reassurance to Gideon. So Gideon, he gets pretty excited about this, runs back to his camp, and says, all right, tonight's the night. Let's get this done. So what do they take for their weapons, right? Well, of course, they've got regular weapons, but this is irregular warfare. And so Each of those 300 soldiers is outfitted with a clay pitcher. Inside of it is a torch that's hidden, and everybody's given a horn or a shofar, like those ram's horns that, right? And they go up on the hillside. And when Gideon gives the signal, they break the clay pots, which makes a tremendous sound. All of the torches are lit up, right, all around the Midian camp, and they blow the horns, right? And the Midians are both confused and in shock and awe, and they think that a huge force is about to come and get them. And so in the chaos and the fog of war and their haste to beat a hasty retreat, right, they wind up tripping all over each other and actually killing a lot of each other in this process. And then Gideon and his men give chase. Now, when this battle is all said and done, right, over 100,000 Midianites are dead, right? What a truly amazing miracle. And I want to talk about sort of the faith that went into this whole process, right? And I want to talk about, through the lens of this story, how to build the power, right? Talking about the 12 powers of unity, the power of faith in your life. And the first point I want to make is we got to tear down our false beliefs. What are some examples of false beliefs, right? Well, here's one. I'm inadequate in some way, right? And wasn't that what Gideon said? Like, here I am, I'm of the least of the tribes, and I'm the youngest of my clan. And yet God chose to use him anyway, right? To build his faith and work with him. What other false beliefs do we need to tear down? Well, we look at our sacred cows and our altars, right? In our lives and our beliefs. Who do we serve, right? Who do those beliefs and sacred cows and structures, who do they serve in your life? What structures, beliefs, relationships, and activities do you need to tear down in your life to be in more alignment with truth, right? In Gideon's case, it was tearing down these altars to the false god, so that his clan, at least, would focus their attention back on, right, the one true source of truth. A third false belief that needs to be torn down, is this idea that I don't have the resources I think I need, right? Oh, I would go do such and such if only, right? If only I had blank, or if only something would happen, or if only this, or if only that. That's not what we're asked to do. What we're asked to do is to take steps toward what we're called to do, and then see what happens. We also need to recognize the myths around this superpower of faith, right? We often talk about childlike faith, and we think of it, I don't know, in terms of, just this way of going about things that in a childish sort of way. But I invite you to look at through a childlike lens at life, and particularly at faith. Children are curious, right? They ask a lot of questions and use a lot of imagination. Usually when somebody's talking about childlike faith, they're like, oh, don't question, don't whatever. But that's not true, right? And look at Gideon, right? He asked for signs, right? He asked questions. And he was curious about this visitor. And that built his faith in the process, right? And I'll also say this about childlike faith, is that children trust their inner knowing because they don't have all the baggage and the imprints that adults have. And so that allows them to be more pure vessels, you could say, for faith. Another myth that we have around faith is this idea of blind faith, right? And the truth is, when we exercise mature faith, it kind of looks blind, like blind faith to outsiders, right? Um, uh, because, they don't have that inner knowing that the individual has. And that is mature faith. It's that inner knowing because you've built up that relationship. In practice in our world, actually, blind faith uh, is kind of the opposite of mature faith, right? In blind faith, right, that's victim mode. That's surrendering sovereignty, right? But mature faith, while it looks like blind faith to outsiders, is actually faith that's been allowed to grow and flourish because we've taken the steps to nurture it in our lives. It just doesn't, it's not, it's not this unquestioning trust and obey. I always think of that song, that I grew up with, which was a child song. And it's trust and obey, for there's no other way to be happy in Jesus, but to trust and obey, right? But that's talking about a different kind of thing. That's actually talking more about that surrender of sovereignty instead of that mature building up of a relationship with God, with faith on the inside. So I invite you not to have blind faith, even though it might appear to be blind faith from the outside. Also, another myth that surrounds this superpower is passiveness, right? Passiveness, like I'm going to just sit here and I'm going to believe, close my eyes, meditate and believe, right? And the truth is, though, we find that in the book of James, right, that faith without works is dead, right? That's another word for being passive. Faith without works is dead. And why is that? Because when we build this trust relationship, when we build this faith on the inside, it cannot help but move us into action, right? It's an iterative process, right? We take an action, it reinforces that faith, right? We're guided to take an action, we take that action, and and the results reinforce our faith, and we build more and more faith. So faith is not passive, is not blind, and yes, it is childlike, but not in the way that we generally think of childlike faith. So what I want you to know is that faith is a relationship that we build, right? Take a look at this story of Gideon that we shared. First, he's living in a space of fear. And then he encounters this divine message. And he says, well, I'm going to need a little more, proof here, okay? And so here's your proof, fire coming out of a rock, right? And based on that, he takes the next step of faith, and tears down the altar to Baal, right? And then he should be afraid, right? Because his whole clan is very angry, and they, the story literally says they want to kill him. And then out of the blue, he sees this change in his father, and his father protects him. And so, okay, his faith is building, right? It's this iterative process. And so next step, right? And this seems like an accelerated timeline for faith. But next step is, okay, we're going to save Israel from the Midianites, right? And he's like, whoa, that's going to take some extra strong belief, some extra strong faith. And so he asks for 2 signs, right? And he's given 2 signs and proceeds forward. And you see all of the miraculous outcome. And look at this wonderful grace that comes from God as well, right? The night of the big battle, when it would be natural for Gideon to be feeling very anxious with his group of 300 men who ultimately are going to take out 100,000 Midianites, right? Um, and God says, I think that Gideon could use a little faith reinforcement. I'm going to send him down to the Midian camp and let him overhear a conversation. Isn't that wonderful? Like, it's this iterative process. It builds and builds and builds. And it all happens right here. All right. We start out asking for these external signs, but then gradually, as our faith matures, it becomes an internal process until finally, right, we have that illusion to the outside world of blind faith. But in reality, we're calling on the rock solid foundations that have been built inside of us. And so I want you to take these steps this week to help build this foundation inside of you. Number one is get quiet, get still, and pray for guidance. And then listen for the guidance, right? Write it down. Ask for reassurance and confirmation. Ask to have your eyes opened. And take some small steps forward and see what happens. It's been said that if we take one step toward God, God takes 3 steps toward us. And the more of those steps that we take, the more we come to realize it was an illusion all along. We were never separate, taking steps toward each other, right? We were always one, and we're always together from the beginning. But that's that iterative growth process as we mature our faith. So build confidence in this relationship at every step. Get still. Pray for guidance. Listen. Write the guidance down. Ask for reassurance and confirmation. And oh, by the way, I've found personally that when I ask for reassurance and confirmation, a lot of times I'll get multiple signs of reassurance and confirmation. But we've got to be still on the inside to recognize, right, that those signs, those reassurances, those confirmations are coming in. Ask to have your eyes open and then take steps. 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps, 4 steps, and conquer, right, that oppressive army that you see all around you. You'll find out that oppressive army was your false thoughts and false beliefs all along. I wish you much success and love in your faith journey, and thank you very much for joining today with Unity.
I have within me greater power than I have used, more life than I have lived, more strength than I've known. I have within me greater talent to express, more courage I can muster, more faith that I can show. Oh, I am ready. Turn it loose, turn it on, I'm gonna bring it on. Let it shine, let it soar, be brighter than before. Dance and sing, do my thing, I'm gonna bring it on and on and on. Let it out. Ooh. Hey, yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, oh. I have within me greater dreams to come true, more willingness to change, more love to give away. I have within me greater wealth for me to share, more potential to reveal, more beauty every day. Oh, I am ready. Turn it loose, turn it on, I'm gonna bring it on. Let it shine, let it soar, be brighter than before. Dance and sing, do my thing, I'm gonna bring it on and on and on. Turn it loose, turn it on, I'm gonna
As always, a wonderful talk. Hope you took notes. Hope you took heed. Again, these are the basic foundational unity principles. We talk about our 5 principles that we learn, and we can do that on a daily basis as we invoke each of the 12 powers. But the 12 powers are the foundational training that we do. So with that being said, let us move into a quick review of the questions at the end of the chapter and reflect on faith. If you had enough faith, what would you do? If you had a shade more courage, what would you dare? What might you do to develop the robust courage at this time in your life? What conversations with yourself and others do you need to stop having to make room for what is trying to emerge in your life? If you remember our lessons on the untethered soul, that conversation we have when we talked about our upper limit problems, when we talk about what we tell ourselves and what we believe, these are the conversations we need to work on. And what small steps could you take to nurture your divine faith? So again, yes, there was an ulterior motive. I wanted to put these up now so that if you wanted to pause the video and copy them, you can do that after the service. But I also wanted you to hear them one more time and to hear them for yourselves, because we wanted this to be more than just us teaching books, but we wanted you to actually take part in your own salvation. And let's quickly move and go into what our practice this week is. And in our prayer time, we ask Divine Presence and what your next steps are. Listen carefully, journal what comes to you, then go out and do it. So it's about taking the action. And through prayer and meditation, we hear that small, still voice. It's kind of like when I was trained to do dream work, where, as Charles Fillmore tells us, our prosperity comes in the forms of visions and dreams, and that we would wake up during the night and write out the dream, or if we remembered it the next morning, immediately journal it, because it had clues to things we needed to do. Number 2 was find a prayer partner to help fan your hopes and encourage you. Be that for someone else. I did this for the abundance training that I did with Unity on the Bay, and I loved it. Every day for about 10 minutes, we would call each other at a certain time. We would ask each other what we wanted to see in our prayer time, and we would pray with each other. And finally, take a small courageous step each day this week in the direction of your own heart's desire. And as I always say, it doesn't matter how old you are, whether you're 18, whether you're 90, and even if you're in your teens, there's something that you want to do that you may have a little bit of fear in. Have faith and move forward toward it. So again, this is the time of the service where we get to celebrate that giving, that celebration of giving and circulating, as we hope that we have given you a lot to think about today. We've given you through talk, through lessons, through songs, and that you take all of this with you and practice it and get it as part of your life and make it part of your heart. So with that, let's invoke our power of imagination, as this is where we can celebrate that giving and give from our heart. And as we invoke our power of imagination, as we are virtual, let us see ourselves typing in our amount that we wish to give, writing out the check for that amount, and signing it with your name and signing it with blessings in the notes. Or let's see ourselves when we've already given, that we give in love and in joy. As we bless those gifts and say, divine love as me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And as we send it out, we bless it on its way out with the blessing of gratitude, knowing that it's already done the work that it's meant to do in our ministry. And so it is, and we let it be. Amen. Let us bless our children as always. Bring them to the forefront of your heart and mind if they're not in the room with you. And we raise our hands as we say, we bless you, we love you, and we honor you. And we see that divinity in you. And today and always, we see you going out and doing wonderfully great things. Our prayer for protection is always, the light of God surrounds us. And we remind ourselves that I am light. The love of God enfolds us. and I am love. The power of God protects us, and we are power. The presence of God watches over us, and we are that presence. And wherever we are, God is, and all is well, and we are so grateful, and so it is. And I am so grateful for you, and as always, if no one else has told you, I love you. Nothing you can do about it. So again, I thank you. Hope to see you Tuesday night. And as always, namaste. I see and honor that divinity in each and every one of you. As principle number 2 reminds us, it is that good that we call God that's in all of us. Love you much, and I will see you either Tuesday or Sunday next week.